don't know how warm or cold we all are, but Lee, do you want to just shut the door, not for secret, just to stop our noise going down the corridor? Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. So we are quorate, so we'll turn to the agenda. We've got questions from members of the public representing Benson Road Residents Association, Lillian Rundblad, Jane Ward, Nala Byrne, Janet Lockwood, Jan Naylor, Councillor Oscar Gillespie and Keith Walter, and also Michael Jones, Councillor Michael Jones, Chairman of LLF, wants to speak. So what I'm going to do is take you at the relevant point of the agenda, which means item 7, Histon Road, is Benson Road, and I'll do you in this order: Benson Road Residents Association, Lillian Rundblad, then we'll, and Michael Jones. Number 8, we've got 4 people: Jane Ward, Nala Byrne, Jan Lockwood, Jan Nana. Item 9, Councillor Oscar Gillespie. Item 10, I'm sorry to ask everyone to wait until they're at the right place. Apologies for absence.
Everybody's here, John.
And then we do have an apology, I think, from Councillor Kevin Price. So when we come to his area, we will take his report, which he's written for us, and we'll just go through it ourselves. We then come to the membership of the Joint Assembly. Mark Robertson is stepping down from the Joint Assembly. If you remember, he is academic representative of 4 Act 3 academic representatives. He's on behalf of the Regional College. Thank you very much indeed, Mark, for his time there. Now, the way this works is that the university nominates somebody to fill his place, and Dr. Antony, I think you've got a nomination.
Yes, thank you. We'd like to nominate Jo Sainsbury. She works for IMET, which stands for Innovation, Manufacturing, Engineering and Technology. She's also associated with Cambridge Regional College.
And what then happens is we as a board consider that, and if we like to ratify it, I would be very happy to ratify it. Yes, we'd be happy to ratify that. So that's it. That is Jo Sainsbury. I think we're still one down.
Yes,
Claire's working on that. Declarations of interest. We've all filled in our forms. Phil, I know you always remind us that you live near Gilbert Road.
We're on Gilbert Road, between Histon Road and Milton Road.
Ian, I think you want to remind us that the County Council owns some land.
Indeed, that's item 8, and County Council has ownership on a possible additional park and ride site. And therefore declare that as an interest, which is not recorded at the moment.
I don't think there are any others. Minutes of the previous meeting start on our agenda pack, page 1, and go until page 18. Does anyone have any comments on those? Are you happy for me to sign them?
Agreed.
So we now go to agenda page 19, which is the report from the Joint Assembly, which Councillor Price has had a migraine, so he apologises as a last minute item of not being able to attend. Shall we just take ourselves through it? And are there any points that we ourselves want to talk about on number 2 Histon Road?
Well, I just think if we reference the issues at each item.
Yeah. Number 3, Western Orbital. I wasn't struck in passing. I was going to ask Councillor Price on 3.2 on Western Orbital. An interesting sentence. The GCP needs to ensure that the capacity of park and rides provides the volume required in the thousands and not just the hundreds. That was an interesting remark. Debate about the Junction 11 park and ride also brought Foxton level crossing into the discussion. And I think that will come back when we do that item. Number 4, city access. I think the germane point there is the first sentence, the Joint Assembly were pleased to receive a paper on city access. There were some comments about the long time it's taken to reach the point that it was acknowledged it was good to have this debate, and there was more praise yet again for the big conversation that Beth led. Demand management is referenced in 4.3. Yeah, and the other comments.
Sorry, the point I attended the Assembly, Mr Chairman, the bit I wanted to pick up in 4 was the suggestions came from a councillor, Cambs, which I thought was a very sensible step. I looked particularly at Peter at this point. Councillor Grenville, okay, he actually produced some, I thought, some interesting data and information which I think the board needs to understand a bit more. So what I would perhaps ask actually, if we could ask Peter to have a look at that and perhaps give us some briefing about what that was said at that time, because I thought that was of some interest for all of us.
Yeah, and the council subsequently has provided some information on that, which we'll be feeding into.
It's not a discussion, but I think it is useful to recognise it and have a little bit of analytic work done on it, Mr Chairman.
Thank you for bringing that to our attention. Thank you. Quarterly progress report, there's a reference to the motion map, but I hope everybody saw downstairs the lobby screens, and those are working fantastic. I think that's really, really good, the lobby screen with Ian Lewis downstairs, and it's the data and the technology behind the lobby screen, which is effectively now done complete, which will feed into the motion map. So that's good progress.
One very minor point on that is worth recording, that when we all say that maybe Google Maps is already doing this, we are actually feeding data into Google rather than the other way around for that. So
that's right, isn't it?
We
It
are
says
today.
Google on the bottom left-hand corner.
but we're feeding
Our
it to
data
them.
that is going into Google. That's exactly, that's worth referencing. So are there any other comments in the absence of Councillor Price that we want to make on his report, or should we take it as read?
Thank you, Mr Chairman.
Yep. So we now move on to agenda item 7 on page 23, which is the History Road bus cycling walking improvements on concept. We have some speakers on this, which we'll do first, and we'll do Peter, your report, and then we'll have the board questions, clarification and discussion. So, Benson Road Residents Association. Thank you very much indeed. Ooh. Would you like me to do the LLF chair first? Well, the LLF chair, who wants to go first?
I'm happy to speak at the question to go first, but I can
go first.
tie that up into what I say.
Yeah. Carry on, man.
Okay. Sorry.
Our two questions relate to the answers to the questions from the Joint Assembly in February, which we wanted to clarify because we are unsure about some of the detailing. So the first one is about mitigation. So Benson Area Residents Association raised a question at the GCB Joint Assembly regarding consultation on traffic calming measures to alleviate the increased pressures on Canterbury Benson Street, Priory Streets and Oxford Windsor Roads due to the expected increase in rat running through our streets as part of the GCP mitigation process. The answer to the Benra question was the mitigation ideas put forward regarding rat running are out of the scope of this scheme and need to be further assessed by GCP. However, in the original major objectives of the City Deal, mitigation was listed, Objective 6, as an objective, and an assessment of the impacts on the existing residents was considered important. Benro would like assurance that ideas regarding rat running are not out of the scope for this scheme, and that mitigation measures regarding rat running will be carried out by GCP. So, could the Executive Board clarify to Benro what its role will be regarding mitigation? Shall I do the second question?
Yeah, I think let's answer that one, if you'd like. Ian, you're the portfolio of transport. Do you want to address this? Or like Peter?
Peter, I think will be best.
So in terms of the report outlines the objectives of the scheme in the objectives of the Histon Road scheme in 4.1. And addressing rat running on other routes is not part of the objectives of the scheme. So in terms of progressing Histon Road, other than we're currently looking at giving priority to pedestrians at the junctions, which will mitigate the attractiveness of driving on other routes, we are not proposing to take part in the mitigation schemes as part of the scheme. There's a however. Yeah. So however, the County Council are doing some work on mitigation measures in the area, and we will, as part of that work, contribute to the County Council's work to deal with that as a separate matter to the Histon Road scheme.
Am I allowed to comment on?
Well, not really, I'm afraid. We have in the past been quite ruthless with that rule. And I think the summing up is that the wide point is something will be done on rat runnings. It will be done in a different, what you might call, scheme. It will be done and it will be joined up.
As the County Council representative, I'm quite happy to meet residents along with Peter and other officers to discuss that with you at some point in the future. Along possibly with the chairman of the LFA. Okay.
Thank you.
And you're going to ask the second question
I'll do the second
as well,
question.
yeah.
Okay. Ben also asked whether GC Joint Assembly could reassure residents that air quality and vibrations will not worsen as a result of the changes on Histon Road, with specific relation to the removal of parking. What specific measures are proposed to reduce noise and vibration? The answer to this was, it is not considered that air quality and vibration will worsen following implementation of the scheme. Rather, improving facilities for walking, cycling and public transport should contribute to improving air quality. At the LF meeting on the 5th of March, a diagram of cross-section measurements at the south end of Histon Road showed 2 times 1.8 metre pedestrian access, 1.5 cycleways and 5.8 metres carriageway, i.e. 12.4 metres total. The representative from Stagecoach advised that this was not enough space for 2 buses to pass each other safely, indicating that buses, and in my brackets, and heavy goods vehicles, would have to use cycleways in order to pass each other. This indicates that heavy traffic will be passing much closer to the west side of Histon Road than at present. It is likely also that the removal of parking will result in vehicles driving faster down the road. For that reason, it is vital that Bamber residents receive reassurance from the Executive Board. Can the GCP reassure residents that air quality and vibrations will not worsen as a result of changes on Histon Road? And what specific measures are proposed to reduce speed, noise and vibration?
I'm going to start with Peter and then I'll come in after.
Thanks, Ian. So, starting point, what we're looking at here is a preliminary concept that's out that will hopefully, subject to the board's decision, go out for consultation. And so we look forward to hearing views on that. The position is unchanged from the response we gave at the Joint Assembly. What we are doing is managing the highway space in that location. And that actually we are trying to ensure that there is suitable space for all vehicles, but not space whereby you can have any type of large vehicle hurtle down at speed, which would link particularly to any vibration. Encouraging people to walk, cycle and use public transport is designed to offer an alternative to the private vehicles, so there are less vehicles going down there, which would offer an overall quality benefit. So our position is unchanged. Nevertheless, in terms of, it's the basis of a consultation, is to go out and listen to people's views on what they think of our proposals.
Sorry, the piece I wish to add is about air pollution. Air pollution is often caused by standing cars and lorries and buses. So if those move faster through, then the air quality and research through public health would demonstrate that it is improved. So there is a very strong link between what I call standing traffic of all types and air pollution. There is a very strong link between the two. And I would hope that as a result of that, the air quality would improve.
Thank you.
That's it. My questions have been answered.
correctly.
Lillian Runblad.
Yeah, thanks.
I have two questions. In one, I am the chair of the Historical Area Residents Association. Yeah. And the second one, I'm the vice chair of the Historical Localized Forum, so there are different me's here. The environmental impact on Histon Road is what I'm going to start with. And the dangers to us residents' health from air pollution, from nitrous oxides and particulates is well known. Reducing population exposure and reducing local traffic emissions as quickly as possible is urgent. The Cambridge Air Quality Action Plan is welcomed by the residents along Histon Road and nearby areas, and in particular that it is a joint commitment between Cambridge City Council, Health England, Greater Cambridge Partnership and Cambridgeshire County Council. Having identified the range of actions required and also willing to take responsibility for ensuring they are progressed. Histon Road, Huntington Road and Victoria Road, the Ring Road, is the border of the clean air zone. So although we are grateful for the preliminary design of Histon Road showing attention to the rows and trees, from Gilbert to Carisbrook Road, a valuable protection from air pollutants, there are further restrictions to traffic movements to be considered. Huntington Road has 20-mile-per-hour speed limits starting at the crossing of Histon Road, same for Victoria Road. So we request that the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit be enforced on Histon Road from Victoria Road to Windsor Road and Ackerman Street. The GCP Joint Assembly, they were concerned about the enforcement and restrictions for HGV delivery trucks to the local stores. Victoria Road and Gilbert Road have restrictions on HGV traffic nighttime. And we would then request that HGV nighttime restrictions on Histon Road be enforced between Victoria Road and King Setchers Road. So Histon Road Area Residents Association requests that the GCP Executive Board to direct the GCP Project Manager for Histon Road project to include above A and B in the analysis for improved air quality and noise reduction and report to the Executive Board on each proposal.
So in terms of, so again, caveat where proposal is to go out to consultation. I mean, the Joint Assembly discussed the parking and loading issues at length when they considered this. We responded by saying that clearly needs to be picked up as part of the formal traffic regulation order process, that it is a balance between allowing residents and businesses to park and access the site, but actually then impacting on the movement of particularly public transport and other vehicles on the highway, which is why we needed to take the time through the process. We can look at a 20-mile-an-hour zone, the caveat being that 20 miles an hour, the environment needs to be self-enforcing, because we will not get police officers stood there with speed guns. The environment needs to reflect that. And if it doesn't reflect that, then the traffic will move at an appropriate movement pace, which is the 30 miles an hour in a traditional residential area. So work to do. I think we recognise that in the report, particularly the challenge between parking and loading, and the traffic regulation order process will pick this up for me.
Can I just add about the HGVs? Okay, because I've had quite a bit of experience in the past about HGVs, and that is very different to a 20-mile limit or a 30-mile limit. The restrictions in respect to the 30-mile limits are fine and well understood through the regulations, but there are different regulations, traffic regulations in respect to the HGVs and what we do with HGVs, and that very much goes to the businesses which would be supplied by those vehicles. So it's a very different process that you go through. It is extremely complex from experience, extremely long and tedious as well, and you need to separate the two. I'm happy to look at it from the county council's perspective, but I must give you what I call the health warning, that it is not a simple fix, because the businesses will say, We want the vehicles, they must deliver, and therefore they do have what I call that type of right to actually put their point of view, and it is quite long and tedious to actually do that, and it's quite a complex process, I'm afraid to say.
Just short, night restrictions we were talking
Any
about.
restriction, I've been through night restriction in my own village that I live, and that went to a public inquiry with an inspector, with barristers, times 4.
So Peter, in terms of what is in scope, to use that phrase on our history study, looking at this 20 mile an hour limit is in scope, and you're going to do that?
We can consider that, Chair,
Yeah.
but it is, 20 mile an hour is reflective of the environment that vehicles can move
But
at.
it's in scope for us to consider it.
To consider it.
So that we will think about. HGV night time, is that in scope?
Well,
Is that a county council?
well, it will be part of the formal traffic regulation order process.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that the key difference between Histon Road and some of the other surrounding roads is Histon Road's a main arterial road into the
But
city.
we will at least think about it.
That can be considered as part
So
of that
both of
process.
those are negative, not ruled out. Not
Very
ruled out.
good, thank you.
They will be part of the future thinking.
Thank you.
And I've got your other question, your second
Yeah,
question.
now I'm the vice chair of the LLF. And this question came up at the LLF on the 5th of March and was voted on, and the vote was carried. So, at its most recent meeting on 5th of March, Histon Road Local Licensing Forum agreed that the Greater Cambridge Partnership Board should be requested to request and directed GCP project manager for Histon Road project to analyze the full matters set out in A and B below, with a report to the GCP board on each proposal after his analysis is completed. So A, the proposal from HRRA to move the bus lane further north to end at Hazelwood Close, where sufficient space is available for a combined toucan crossing and bus gate, giving better bus priority than the current proposal. And B, coordinating with the developer of Darwin Green to formulate a combined solution between the developer and the GCP, incorporating a toucan crossing at the junction of Histon Road and Darwin Green Squash Court Road and Carisbrook Road to ensure improved safety for pedestrians and cyclists.
Can we start again? So as you know, the answer I gave at the Joint Assembly, we've looked at previously moving the bus lane further north, but we've got problems there in terms of drainage and levels issues, which rules that out. And so if we wish to deliver public transport improvements, then it's in the location that it is at the moment. In terms of working with the developer and looking at the additional crossing, so sympathetic to that, the issue we've got is the location to the existing crossing, that we need to try and find that balance, or else we can't put it in, because we're simply then just slowing all of the vehicles and all the movements down along the route.
May I just add a very short one on the existing crossing is a non-signal, and it is ruled out already by the GCP or City Deal at the time.
I think the only thing to add actually is, of course, Cambridge County Council, when that with the developer would have discussed those as part of the development. Okay, so there is what I call an add-on a little bit to the has been discussions a long time ago when Diamond Green, of course, was being developed with the developer, with the Highways Department, which is Cambridge County Council. So I think I'm aware of the question, as you might say.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the answer will be quite as simple.
And so, to summarise, Peter, in terms of the first one, which is moving the bus lane further north, the answer is, I'm afraid, unsympathetic to that, and that the public consultation will not have it moved, but we welcome comments in the public consultation. For the second one, about toucan, sympathetic to that one, and you're having
And if we can find a signals way of dealing with it, then that's something we'll work with the councils and colleagues to try and resolve.
Yeah, so that is important.
So I'm not being flippant, but I think 3 of your points we're sympathetic to, or will at least attempt to meet. No promises. The 4th, I'm afraid not. Thank you for your
Thank
question. Now I'll let Byrne.
Yes.
I'm terribly sorry.
I think you've
I'm
missed
terribly
me.
sorry, I'm getting right ahead of myself. No, Mr. O'Bell, I'm very sorry. I'm completely ahead of myself. And we want Councillor Mike Todd Jones, Chairman of the LNF.
Well,
I'm sorry.
Alright.
I'm sorry.
It's not even me.
So, Mike, whereas questions are submitted in advance, you don't
No,
need to.
thank you, Chair.
And we don't know what you're going to say.
No, I'm really here just to, I'm not going to be glad to know I'm not going to give you a preview of effectively an annual report that I gave last time in November. I'm recovering a bit from the flu, so you have to bear with me. Then you get to carry me out of the local liaison forum on the 5th of March, and Lillian actually kindly took over and chaired that meeting. But I have got, what I'm going to try and just summarise what I think are the key outcomes, or the key points made from the local liaison forum, some of which you may want to take on board and bear in mind in terms of the forthcoming public consultation. But essentially, I'll just run through the sort of key elements, if that's okay, and then touch on a couple of other things. Regarding the main junctions, the five-way junction at Histon Road, Victoria Road, Hampton Road, Castle Hill and Mount Pleasant. We recognise it's a really tricky junction in many respects to deal with, and I think there are still some issues, and there might be comments that come out of public consultation regarding the really great attempts to improve, in particular, safety regarding cycling movements. Still very much appreciate that full access is maintained to Victoria Road at this junction. There may well be some comments from the public consultation that further inform the views about this particular junction. Gilbert Road and Warwick Road junction, I think we've come up with a very good solution, which I think has been further endorsed by the local liaison forum regarding the, in particular, cycling and pedestrian movement at that junction. Darwin Green, I'll come back a little bit to that when I talk about the bus lane. That's the aspect of the access to Darwin Green from what will be from the former Swiss Laundry site, where there are also 27 homes to be developed there, and in the close vicinity to that is the Carisbrooke Road junction. And we recognise there are a few issues there. I'll come back to that briefly. And we also, I think, further endorse the Darwin Green Spine Road, King's Headed Road junction, and taking the scheme up to the A14 junction. On the bus lane issue, I know that the local liaison forum has some difference of opinion about that point location of the bus lane. The inbound bus lane, essentially from a point just north of Blackwall Road, on the one side, to just south of Carisbrooke Road. And I accept, of course, that bus lane, improving bus trips is a key part of what the Bredick County Party is trying to do in respect to this arterial route. My own view is that the key concerns early in the process was potentially the compulsory land purchase. That is no longer going to happen, and I'm very pleased with that commitment being maintained. And also a commitment, I think, for the Greater Cambridge Partnership and the landscape architect who's been engaged to work with residents in terms of any verge loss will perhaps be mitigated with supporting greening front gardens and aspects like that, which will, I think, mitigate perhaps the effect of having that bus lane there. But as I say, it's going to be a compromise, I think, and it'll be interesting to see what comes out of the public consultation. But as chair, my view is that it is a very critical part of the elements that the Cambs County Partnership is trying to deliver. So I'm trying to be slightly neutral in terms of, I know there are contrary views from the local liaison forum. We still obviously really welcome the retention of the line of trees on the sort of southern part of the northern section of Histon Road on the western side, and where possible, trees are removed, that they will be replaced. That green environmental aspect of Histon Road is really critical to maintain, so I'm really glad that it's going to remain committed to. And then I should touch on perhaps the other difficult element, perhaps for some residents, which is the removal on street parking. And again, we'll see what comes out of the public consultation, but I know a lot of work has gone into analysing the existing resident parking zone in the Benson Street area, and that capacity has been identified to absorb the resident parking spaces that will be lost on Histon Road, and that a lot of work has gone into identifying alternative locations for paying display bays. I do think that in terms of the local businesses, my personal view again, others have expressed it, others I'm not sure I quite so strongly feel about it on the local liaison forum, is that the parking options by Cranwell Court, opposite Midan, and other local businesses should, in my view, be maintained. They will lose some very short-term parking bays directly outside Midan, and I think the compromise there would be to retain the parking bays outside Cranwell Court. That has implications for the floating bus stop that's proposed there, but there would still be the option for the bus stop outside the Graves pub and other floating bus stops along the route. So again, I'd like that to be considered by the partnership, and obviously there might be comments from the public consultation about that. Just to find a couple of other points, I do appreciate that in terms of traffic mitigation, so-called rapid running mitigation, that there is a commitment from Highways and the project team to work with residents and myself and Lillian Rundblad as Vice Chair of the Histon Road Local Liaison Forum to look at measures that may be required, not just regarding Canterbury Street, Benson Street and that area, but other areas that were identified in I think our resolution 5, which also referred to Apron Street, Stretton Avenue and to Roseford Road. So I'm more than happy to work with County Council Highways on those aspects. And I think that's pretty well it in terms of, yeah, I was just going to come back to that. There might be a bit of analysis done and maybe some alternatives in the public consultation put forward about that whole area relating to the Carisbrook Road junction. Whether the inbound bus lane could stop a little short of the Carisbrook Road junction and that access, pedestrian cycle access to Garden Green could possibly be put forward as a, I don't know, possibly as an alternative, an option in the consultation. That it may be something that, if it helps to give a better solution, including to the signalised crossings that are being suggested in that area, and how you rationalise or incorporate those crossings in that whole junction. Maybe that needs to be thought about a bit more, and perhaps some different options put forward in the public consultation. And I think that's about it.
Thank you, Councillor James. Does anyone want to? We'll reserve our general discussion for later, but any particular ones?
No particular points. Generally, except to say I was in attendance at the local liaison forum. I think that's a true reflection of what was discussed with the officers. Both officers are present at this meeting and obviously hearing what you're saying. We've got the maps with us, which were done on the day. I think it's just saying that it is a fair reflection of what took place at that meeting. I can confirm that.
Thank you. Lewis, is your city as it were? Do you want to?
No, I'm just obviously keen to follow up the detail with Councillor Todd Jones and the others from the local liaison forum. This is now down to obviously a proposal before us, but the detail matters, so
yeah,
we'll need to follow up.
Yeah, fine. Yeah.
Phil, recognising your location where you live, are there any questions you've got for?
No questions.
Anything from the business side?
No, I mean, this looks affordable, it looks value for money. My question is whether it actually makes very
We'll conversation in general discussion.
access.
Yeah. Great. Thank you. Thank you. And I think generally, I wrote down you appreciate great efforts, very good solution, you endorse, and I'm really glad on trees. Appreciative. So, quite supportive.
Yep.
Two particular areas, Garden Green area and Cranwell Court. Peter, do you want to talk about
Chair, I'm not sure, given the... I'm not sure I've got a great deal more to add, actually. I mean, in terms of the scheme itself, I think the Chairman has outlined, we are balancing a whole series of priorities along this corridor. It is an optimal solution, balancing sort of walking, cycling, public transport and general traffic. It certainly isn't a perfect solution, but any of these things There has been extensive engagement, and I recognise there's still some parts of the community who want something different, but we are trying to pull together a single scheme. We've highlighted particularly the on-street parking as an issue, because we're not trying to hide this under a bushel. We want to be very clear in terms of the consultation to say, to generate that additional capacity on that route, something has to give, and where we're at is the on-street parking. We have and will continue to look at mitigation measures in terms of the other roads in the area, whether we can find particular accommodate the 42 spaces that are being taken away. But really, Chairman, out to consultation. We need to produce this into the maps are not terribly user friendly, so we need to produce it into consultation material that brings it to life, particularly around the landscaping and the urban realm bit, which if we're not careful, we just focus on what the bus lane looks like rather than what the actual corridor will look like going forward, with a view to coming forward with a final set of proposals, Chair.
Thank you. Are there any questions for clarification first? Should we then open up the board's discussion? Should we Phil, given it's your area,
I think just 2 or 3 very quick points. Before I became a member of the board, I was aware of the original proposals for this, and I must say, where we are now and where we were then is a huge difference. And I think that's to be very much welcomed. The direction of travel, the consultation, the engagement, the amount of work that's gone on with the community and officers, I think has made for a much better scheme. The one thing that I keep mentioning every time that we talk about this scheme and the Milton Road scheme is the importance of the schools in that area, and the importance of improving cycling and pedestrian safety in a location where there are a number of schools, Mayfield schools, very close by, but it's a major transport route to get to a number of schools, particularly around Gilbert Road as well. So I'm particularly pleased because of that element of the scheme. I think that's all I would say, just give my general support.
Great, thank you. Claire?
General comments, if we can have schemes like this which encourage mode shift onto cycles, walking, that's good. There will still be people who need to come down Eastern Road in the car. It won't make a very big difference to them. Buses will be slightly easier. I'm fully supportive of doing something. And I do fear in the future we might need to do something more radical with one-way and all those other radical things. But for now, this is good stuff.
Really concur with that it should go out for consultation. I think there are obviously some details that need to be worked through, as we know, particularly related to businesses, okay, because there are businesses down there, so I think we do need to work that through. I think there will have to be a considerable amount of what I call give and take, because you've got pedestrians and cyclists, you've got bus lanes, etc. So trying to get all of those to all agree, I think maybe the challenge, but I would hope that we will come out with a scheme that most people would support in the longer term. So I'm supportive of what I've seen, I'm supportive of what the LLF have done and the work that the officers have done to make it considerably better. The schools was picked up actually in the consultation, okay, and that is an important thing. So I think when it comes to the consultation, we need to make sure that all the schools in that area are aware, okay, that it is happening, because there is a lot of schools in that area. Also. So I think when it comes to the consultation, making sure they're fully aware and the governments are fully aware. But other than that, Mr. Chairman, I'm content with what I've seen before me and what I've seen at the LFF, etc.
Thank you.
Just to reiterate some of those points without repetition. It is a different scheme, better scheme. It needs to think about the junctions. It needs to have a look at the detail on the different aspects. There's a particular need through Miston Road for through cycling. There's a significant number of people now using it, including, not surprisingly, to go up to Histon and local people as well. So I'm glad to see the scheme reconfigured. it was always going to be constrained by the very narrow nature of the bottom end of Piston Road. So it makes a lot of sense. There's clearly a number of issues, details about parking, about some of the adjacent streets, and there's still further growth with the completion of the housing on Darwin area. So yeah, I'll just work with the local liaison forum and others on some of that detail. So subject to the decision we're about to make, there's still some work to be done, clearly, to get that detail right.
Peter, I think really just a couple of things I'd say. Firstly, I think we probably all want to pay tribute to Paul and Bob, who's sitting at the back of the room, for an enormous amount of work, Paul, that you've done on this. Peter, I don't know if you want to echo that.
Absolutely.
Chris Johnson would probably say the same. That, I mean, I think you've heard, Paul, that we all said it's a different scheme. I mean, this started off with the possibility of taking people's gardens, didn't it, and things like that. And I think possibly we're all learning on all sides that actually working together is, you know, our strapline. This has been transformed and possibly, you know, we wrongly and unnecessarily upset some residents at the beginning, but particularly thanks to Paul and I think the hard work of LNF and everybody, it just feels a completely good scheme. It's not necessarily 100% there, but it's definitely getting into that. Peter, if we take this decision and go to public consultation, is this the last public consultation that there will be along the way? Can you just help us with process management? Is this what you might call the big and the main one?
Yeah, this is the key one, Chair, in terms of getting the general details. Once we take this decision, if we go through the consultation, it will then be a back to board decision to proceed to detailed design. The engagement will continue, you know, as Lewis was saying, in terms of getting those tweaks right, but it's then detailed design that says, let's get this thing measured out, let's get the materials in place, and let's get going in terms of delivering the scheme.
Detailed design is a long period of time. It's a very detailed design.
It is everything in detail. So we understand the intricacies of delivering a scheme of this nature. Yeah. Detailed design will also consider how we deliver it, because clearly one of the challenges is delivering improvements on the highway without, frankly, mucking up the highway whilst you're going. So it will consider that, it will consider the procurement arrangements and the delivery arrangements on it. So we will go through this consultation process, we will come back and we will say, this is what we think the final scheme is, let's get on with it.
And when you come back and say, this is what the final scheme is, let's get on and do it. All right, we've gone past public consultation.
Yes, we've gone past. The engagement will continue.
Yeah.
Because the engagement, I think, has been, and that doesn't mean to say that we will not continue to tweak and refine, because that's what engagement is for. We're here to listen. But that will be how we proceed with the scheme.
But the reason I'm making the point is the members of the public should be no doubt the importance of the next public consultation is very important, because it's essentially the last one.
Sorry, Chair, can I make a quick point on that? The local liaison forum has suggested, and I think it's a good suggestion before, that at the start of that public consultation in May, that one local liaison forum stakeholder workshop to look at some of the details we talked about will be very helpful. I think only one workshop is required, but we'll look at some of the detail in particular. And that will be as a part of that public consultation, perhaps at the very start of it. And so I will hopefully work with officers to get that stakeholder workshop happening in May at the start of the general public consultation period.
So I think Peter's nodding that the exact date is presumably got to be after elections and further. So the exact date will have to be sorted out.
Of course.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay.
So, members of the board, should we take a decision on this? What we usually do is ask Phil and Claire, if you had a vote, which way would you be inclined to vote? Ian, Lewis, we decided to vote simultaneously usually rather than one or the other. I would vote in favour. Yeah? Great, carry. Thank you.